This is Prayer One Theologist channel. I'm Dr. Jason W. Morrison, New South Wales, Australia. If you haven't already, please like the videos that you watch, subscribe to the channel, and most of all, leave your comments. Let's start our next teaching. I think one of the hardest things for me to accept is that Jehovah's Witness people, for the most part, are nice people. They don't particularly want to do wrong. I can't say that about the sexual abusers. There's an intent there, an evil intent, probably built out of the religion and its beliefs. They don't understand that if you get religion wrong, it can cause evil, severe evil, horrible evil and wrong. Thinking that there's something you need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad is going to cause evil. A lot of people don't understand this. It's Romans chapter 7. You can look that up yourself. But it shows you how subtle and how troubling and difficult it is to watch false beliefs destroy lives. I just enjoyed a video by great man. Let's have a look. We'll just go through my history, my YouTube history. Where is he? Is that it there? No, but it was Marcus. Where's my library? History. Now, I just watched it a minute ago. There, this one. Kingdom Hall shooting.
Hello, everyone.
Brilliant video by Marcus Bourne. Gee, I tell you, he knows his stuff, being an ex-Bethelite. What I'm doing here is I'm collecting the links so that when I finish the video, I put the link straight into the description. But that was a beautiful video by Marcus Bourne. Let's just jump forward a bit and see.
This was normal. Everybody in the Kingdom Hall just all shunning this person and avoiding them like the plague. So this happens so often amongst Jehovah's Witnesses that you can only destroy so many families so rapidly before something bad happens. And that's why most of the people I've talked to about this shooting that took place at the Kingdom Hall in Colorado, most people are surprised this hadn't happened sooner. This cult has been so destructive for so many people for so long that we've no idea why more people hadn't done it. Like it's a situation where we formed groups, ex-Jehovah's Witness groups, to kind of soften the blow, so to speak. So a person loses their mother, their father, their brothers, they lose all their family because this cult teaches false teachings. And then if you speak up about it, they try to destroy your family, right? Well, we've got groups called ex-Jehovah's Witness groups so that people who lose rapidly all these people in their families can at least have somebody to talk to. They can get on a group, they can share their story, but this is not going to be enough. This is not going to be enough. This is not going to solve the issue. We can try to soften the blow, but this isn't going to solve the issue. There's going to be people who are going through really serious life things and they ain't got no family to talk to. And then it's Christmas on top of that, and everybody's celebrating together with their families, and they're alone. They don't got nobody. And some people who are shunned by Jehovah's Witnesses still believe some of the false things that they teach. They still believe any day now winged creatures are coming from heaven and they're going to be killing off everybody that's not a Jehovah's Witness.
So there's Marcus Vaughan. I'll put the link to this video on the shooting. This is about the shooting in Thornton, Colorado, and shunning as the possible cause of this. Not the definite, but possible cause. I'd say, given what most of these people know about the Jehovah's Witnesses. I tell you, he goes into a brilliant synopsis of what he thinks possibly could have been the cause. But that's Marcus Vaughan. I fully recommend his videos. I don't know what this guy's going to have for us today. We'll just see. But he's come out of talking about the evil, demonic, satanic blood doctrine. If you put in here JW blood, you only have to put JW blood. The rest will happen itself. Some people get away without having blood transfusions. There are other forms of this thing. Just June here. This is the story of me waking up from the organization. It's a little more on the serious side and so on and so forth. But here's another man, Lloyd Evans. If you can look up his channel, Cameron's Good, Cameron Fader. He talks about blood transfusions here, and there is Lloyd Evans does a really good video here, and there's many other Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that talk about the blood transfusion situation. Now, one thing I know about hospitals is they do not deliberately delay treatment. It's not deliberate, but I think where we left off, this is where this man's up to.
Are very common. For example, in one European country, many people were indignant when an emotional press report stated that a young female witness died because she refused a blood transfusion.
Now, what happens with these blood transfusions is you'll get the assigned elders to come in, because my sister works at the hospital here and she's seen it. They'll come in and they'll share what their beliefs are and what they think they would like to have happen. Now, this all takes time. And what Stephen Lett's doing here is blaming the hospital for wasting time. Now, I don't think that's correct. The only way that time could be wasted is if a person needs a blood transfusion and there's resistance to having it, or there's negotiations about whether it will happen or not. Because if somebody needs a blood transfusion in a hospital, it's just standard protocol to give that to somebody. But in the case of the Jehovah's Witnesses, there is a lot of unnecessary interference, because the blood doctrine of the Jehovah's Witnesses is false. That's why it makes it a cult. And I personally believe that these people that push it and peddle it are accessories after the fact of a form of euthanasia. If somebody dies from not having a blood transfusion because they believe the Jehovah's Witness false doctrine, and it's easily proved to be a false doctrine. You can prove it in 5 seconds. Aren't they accessories to the fact? Why should they be protected? Because it's a religion. If they're peddling this made-up doctrine about not having blood, right? Aren't they accessories to the fact? Isn't that misleading? Isn't that warranting death? You make up your own mind, but that's my opinion on it, and I'm entitled to it. They're wrong.
Were those the complete facts? No. The patient refused a blood transfusion on religious grounds, but she did agree to alternative non-blood medical management. This could have been implemented immediately and likely would have saved her life.
Now, if that was the pre-arrangement, I can guarantee you that the hospital would not hesitate. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ring my sister right now, and we're going to find out what she says. She's in the thick of all this. Let's see if I'll just ring, and if I get her, I'll come back. No, she didn't answer, but I can't perceive how a hospital with a prearranged plan of care would resist platelets or whatever this guy's talking about. Here she is now. Here's the sister. How are you? Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You know how the Jehovah's Witnesses don't have blood transfusions?
How who? Yeah.
The Jehovah's Witnesses don't have blood transfusions?
Yeah.
They say that they can have platelets and this kind of thing. If that was the case and it was pre-arranged in, say, Jehovah's Witnesses case, like, okay, I won't have a blood transfusion, but I will have the, blood, I don't know what it's called. Do you know what it's called?
Blood products.
Yeah. Would the hospital hesitate to give those?
No, because voluntary stuff, it's their choice what they're going to have and not have. But I don't understand how you would have platelets and not have the other things, packed red cells. That's what that is. So I don't understand what the difference is, because although they do two very different functions. Why is someone telling you they'd have platelets? Are they?
Yeah, well, the one of the leaders. I'm just watching a video of one of the head demonized leaders of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, see, platelets just help with clotting, but blood cells carry the oxygen, and that's the difference. And I'm not sure why. You can spin the platelets off, but yeah, anyway, I don't understand the rationale behind it all.
So what he's saying is, a lady went to hospital and she didn't want a blood transfusion, but she would have platelets, and by the time the hospital decided to give them, she died.
Bullshit. That is bullshit. They always have platelets there. They always have platelets. Platelets are given to cancer patients all the time, because chemo destroys platelets as well. So that's bullshit. She wouldn't have died from a lack of platelets.
Yeah, well, apparently the hospital hesitated to...
because it's a blood product.
Well, no, there must have... I don't know. He's blaming the hospital for her death.
No, he's full of shit. I'm sorry. No, unless she was unconscious or something and they've gone, oh, it's a blood product. I don't know if this lady will have it, without,
No, well, they won't have the blood transfusion, but they will take the platelet.
Right.
So
Well,
if that be the case, and the hospital knows, oh, well, she's a Jehovah's Witness and she's not going to have the standard blood transfusion, they would have been told that she'd take platelets. So I don't know what the hesitation would have been, correct?
Correct. The only thing is, when you're given a blood product, if you're conscious, you've got to give consent, like oral consent, or sign a paper to say I'm receiving blood products. Now, no one's going to die of a lack of platelets, because platelets serve a whole different purpose, and they're really just for clotting. So it's bullshit. It's made up. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Flan. I'll talk to you later.
Righto. Catch
Bye.
up.
So there you go. She's a head nurse at the hospital. She's been nursing for nearly 30 years. This man is undermining the medical profession. and the efforts they go to save lives. And we haven't even started the video. It's extraordinary the lengths this cult will go to protect its beliefs at the expense of the efforts of the medical society. The medical people that care for us. Fancy attacking the medical world like that to protect a doctrine that is just not even biblical. It's been made up by these fools who can't even interpret the Bible correctly. I think we need to stop that video there. That's a valuable interview, direct from one of the head nurses who's been nursing for 30 years. Just completely, I want to play what he just said again and just show you how undermining and wicked this man really is.
False and exaggerated news reports are very common. For example, in one European country, many people were indignant when an emotional press report stated that a young female witness died because she refused a blood transfusion.
Now, the interesting part of this is, and I'm going to stop this video and find it, Lloyd Evans interviewed an ex-Bethelite and asked the ex-Bethelite how many people who was right high up into this blood doctrine thing, how many people do you think died in his 3.5 year service? Hang on a second. Okay, sorry, my neighbour needed something. But anyway, I've found this video of Lloyd Evans. I'll just introduce it. It's a conversation with ex-Bethelite, in arguably the clearest evidence yet that even high-ranking members of the United States Bethel family are slowly waking up. A former overseas secretary from Walk Hills Hospital Information Desk comes on the channel to share what he knows. Now, I'll just let him introduce it.
I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to The Bunker. It gives me great pleasure to welcome today's guest, who, according to my notes, has been a Bethelite at Warwick headquarters, no less, up to very recently. Daniel Graves, welcome to the channel.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Lloyd. You and the team.
Okay, so that's the introduction. Now I'm going to find the question about the blood. Okay, I found this incredible piece of footage from Lloyd's interview with Daniel Graves. Incredible man, been through a lot, still going through a lot, fresh out of Bethel. Let's see what he's talking here about, the whole hospital thing.
The summer of 2018, there was a new light about the staffing guidelines for hospital information departments, and then also making hospital information, what they were called before was desk. So it would be in the service department, but now we're taking that out and we're giving it a department name. And now you can expand your personnel, and we're to be more proactive, harder hitting, go out and hit the pavement. And then there was also a new light on doctors and nurses that are Jehovah's Witnesses when giving a blood transfusion. And so the previous understanding was that Jehovah's Witnesses that were doctors or nurses could, in their own conscience, it would be something that they would have to figure out, either aid in a blood transfusion or order or prescribe a blood transfusion for a particular patient that was a non-believer. But now, in the summer of 2018, the idea is, and this was with no scriptural backing, all they said was abstain from blood in Acts.
And it's actually in the correspondence guidelines, I think, that, you know, you wouldn't be penalized if you were, say, a nurse and you were instructed by a doctor to administer a blood transfusion.
Yeah, previously. And then now the idea was that that is objectionable. And that is so closely linked to an unscriptural practice that that has no bearing on your employment at the facility. So if you had to be terminated or go to a different section of the hospital and work in a different role, that's something that you have to do now. And so there was a lot of restructuring and kind of reimagining of what HID and HIS, the World Headquarters counterpart, would do. And so that was all part of it.
Are you able to tell us, given your seniority in this particular field of the blood issue of the hospital information department, are you able to tell us to what extent Jehovah's Witness elders and HLC members interfere in the medical decisions made by Jehovah's Witnesses, including when they are facing death?
So the HLC only come when they're requested or they are aware of some sort of medical emergency. And at any time, a Jehovah's Witness could say that they no longer want the assistance or the support of the HLC, but that's how it's in print in the traditions of men within Jehovah's Witnesses. But in actuality, there's a lot of unspoken pressure for people to, word spreads quickly within a tight-knit, high-control religion like that. And so someone in the congregation goes to the hospital, the elders are quickly made aware of it, and then the HLC are typically looped in somehow. And then they quickly get involved and typically will state their opinion, or this is what we could do, and do you mind if I talk to the doctor? And a lot of those brothers and sisters are very happy to have someone who they believe is well informed, but they're not a doctor. These are carpenters and plumbers and good people, but not medically intuitive enough to truly take a stance and be a true liaison. So that's where I think the restructuring of the HID was supposed to reaffirm the HLC and help sharpen that tool. But sometimes it can be very, very messy and opinionated.
You say that a Jehovah's Witness could theoretically say, you know what, I don't need the HLC. I'm in a position where blood is very likely to be prescribed, but you know what, I've got this. I'm on top of this. I don't need the HLC. Surely there would be ramifications in the congregation if a Jehovah's Witness were to say that.
If they said, no, I don't want help, then typically the HLC would back off. It was very rare that someone would get disfellowshipped for that, unless they were just very blatant about, no, I think that was the right thing. Typically, what I saw often was someone say, no, I don't want your help, get the blood transfusion. And then after they were better, after this medical crisis, say, oh, I'm so sorry. And then typically everyone would just say, well, they were repentant. And so lesson learned. So it's stressed as such an important thing, but in actuality, oftentimes it was just brushed aside, which is kind of interesting that it was so important, and yet there weren't really ramifications for it, like fornication or homosexuality or whatever else somebody could do.
And what years were you in this particular role?
Probably December 2017 all the way up until June 1st, 2021. That was our last technical day at Bethel. Okay.
And so in 3.5 years of doing this, are you able to tell us how many Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States died?
It would be very hard for me to put a number on it, because not every case comes to the HLC, and not every case that the HLC get comes to the national headquarters. So a lot of the trauma, motorcycle accidents, people on blood thinners that just quickly bleed out, we would get wind of that. And every week we were abreast of somebody that had passed away, or we would get a note by somebody from the HLC that something had happened. But to actually, collate that and down to a funnel and say, this is the actual number, I just don't think that could ever be the case.
Okay. If I can press you,
sure.
Would it be, if there were a number, would it be in the dozens or the hundreds or the thousands?
Per day, per month? What are we talking about?
In the 3.5 year period that you were doing it?
Oh, no. Thousands. People, It's very common. I mean, this blood issue, especially with COVID and some other things that we saw there, it played a role at times. And so people go in for a what would be a normal valve replacement, but then they don't have the blood count or the bone marrow to really create baby RBCs, reticulocytes, and then they just naturally become anemic. So many sickle cell for little children. That was a sad thing because it's just a small crisis. And if you could just get over that hump, they'd be fine. And then even those trips and falls and just these little random things that would happen that could save a life. Not that we would always want to use blood. It really is not always the medically best practice, but sometimes it's the only thing that you can do given a certain circumstance. But there were many Jehovah's Witnesses that willingly and kind of gladly laid out their lives and labeled themselves as a martyr. So yeah, around the world in other branches where the medical advances are not as great as Germany or somewhere like the United States, I couldn't imagine what the number would be totally.
But just in the United States, over that 3.5 year period, you're saying thousands of people died refusing blood?
Easily, I think. I would believe, yeah.
Okay. And
my goodness, we're not talking 10, 20, 30 or 300. We're talking thousands of people have died and will die because of this false doctrine. I'll put the link to Lloyd's video at the bottom.
I just want in terms of people, you've explained that sometimes
Daniel man, he is a wonderful, beautiful man. It's cost him a lot being a Jehovah's Witness, and I don't know the full details of the man's life. I know it possibly cost his marriage. I think she stayed in, if I heard correctly. I would fully recommend that you watch this video, Lloyd Evans' video, the whole video. I was captivated by it, absolutely captivated. A wonderful example of a good person, Daniel Graves. He never had a bad thing to say about the individuals at all. Lloyd goes piece by piece through all the important heads of the Jehovah's Witness organization, which this man knew and asked them about. He never had a bad word to say about any of them. It's just unfortunate that the religion is so destructive that thousands and thousands of people are losing their lives because of a belief that isn't even true. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.